first of all, I wanted to just say I'm very thankful and humbled to be on Rise and Grind today. I really appreciate the invite. I really appreciate being able to talk a little bit about Philadelphia and my experience as a real estate agent, and especially with a legend like yourself. So another Alger, but one that has blazed a trail in the Dallas-Fort Worth area and nationally from what you've done in the luxury space and in building out a business and owning businesses. And I hear you were a pretty good quarterback too at one point. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, brother. Thank you. So, tell us what's happening in the Philadelphia market. Is it similar to what we're seeing around the country, or are there something unique about that space currently?
Yeah, so Philadelphia, just for folks that may not have visited before, is kind of nestled about an hour away, hour and a half away from New York, to our north, and then to our south, we're about 3 hours from DC. So we're sandwiched between that metropolitan Northeast market. Our average home price is around 265. We have, some very expensive homes, and then we have some very inexpensive homes because we have a wide disparity of incomes in this neighborhood. I mean, in this area. Our metropolitan area serves about 6 million homeowners, and that is considering New Jersey, Delaware. We're right in that corner of Pennsylvania on that East Coast, just to give you a geographic sense of where we are. And so we have people who might commute to New York for work because our prices are a lot more affordable. So we see a lot of people leaving New York, buying in the Philadelphia region because it's a way to boost up their net income. And then also there are a few people who will travel south to either Baltimore or DC. Right now, our market is as far as it's seasonal. Seasonal cycle is a little bit behind because we experienced some very bad weather in January and February in terms of winter storms, which led to lower numbers of showings, which kind of has delayed our spring market a little bit to what we're used to seeing. Like typically, right now we'd be in the throes of a lot of shopping, and it's just starting to thaw out for us here.
Wow. Are you licensed in some of those other regions that are relatively close to you?
Great question. Yes, I'm licensed in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. I'm not licensed in Delaware, but that is what a lot of people would do. For me, I rather refer out to Delaware and just stay where I can really provide the best service to my clients.
Tom's River, isn't that up in Delaware, I think? Something
Tom's
like
River
that.
is actually right across from Delaware in New Jersey on the
New
New
Jersey.
Jersey side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a client a year and a half ago come from there. Yeah, so unfortunately they weren't selling there because if they were, then that's a referral one of my friends like you would have received. But they
Absolutely.
actually bought here. So I appreciate that. Um, let's start by just chatting about one, your journey, and I think
Hmm.
mindset, which is so important. And
Hmm.
again, if I remember correctly, it was around, was it around 98 or 2003, somewhere in there when you started in this business? And did you leave your other job at corporate America? So
Yeah.
talk to us about that journey.
Yeah. So my journey in real estate began with my dad giving me an article that said, when you get out of college, buy a used car and a duplex. And so that's what I did. I basically drove this beat up Honda that had the front that was kind of just hanging off. And I worked two jobs to save up some money, and I bought a duplex by the time I was 25. And that started my landlord experience. And I was still working in corporate America, worked in IT for a pharmaceutical company as a consultant. And, I had been there, was making pretty good money. And then in 2003, it was the end of my contract. And I was, throwing the nightlife events and stuff with a partner. And they were like, hey, let's buy this course from this guy back then, Carlton Sheets. Before the internet was really popping, there was Carlton Sheets,
Yes,
who
indeed.
showed you the no down payment money system for buying real estate. So we bought this course, and I was like the one that read it. And so I decided I wasn't going to go back to corporate America. And in that year, I bought like 6 houses. And before BRR existed, I was buying, hiring people from my neighborhood to fix up the houses and refine and buying the next one. And I wound up doing that, 6 times. And it was great. It wasn't making a lot of cash flow, but again, accumulating those properties is how I started my journey in real estate. And then started, investing with partners, getting a little bigger, and then musical chairs happened in 2008, and there were no
Yes.
chairs sometimes. So I had to retrench, and that's when I decided to go to NYU to get my master's in real estate. I didn't complete it, but I did take courses there, for real estate development. And at that same time, my wife got pregnant, and I was like, okay, I can't be traveling to New York doing this. So when I came back to Philly, I bought a bar and restaurant. So I've been an entrepreneur in different facets. But in 2016, to kind of speed up the story, I decided I was going to go full time into helping others, people with the experience and knowledge that I had in real estate. And I've been, with KW since 2018 here in Philly at KW Empower.
What a story. Again, what I hear is that you were willing to bet on you. And what
Yes.
I'd love to know is, especially when you were the leap from corporate to real estate and investing, what did you have to believe about yourself in order to take that risk? Because most of us, Al, most of us, we're chicken, right? And I won't put the other behind that, but clearly you were not. So again, I know there had to be a strength of character, so a mindset, support. You mentioned your wife, and I'm sure you've got a great support system because we can't do this without, our
Right.
support and our tribe. Um, was it simply betting on you, or you were just sick and tired of being sick and tired?
I think a little bit of both. For me, it was that I have failed before. I've lost jobs, I've had to deal with problems, and I was doing really well in IT. But I really don't like interviewing and looking for jobs. And so when that time for my contract came up, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take take my money out my 401k. I got an advance on a credit card. I think back then you could do cash advances without any charges. It was like I got 30 grand from that. And I was just like, I'm going to try it. And I think that having parents that had been behind me, to that point, gave me the confidence to say, I'm not failing again. I'm not going to put any more pressure on them. But I know that real estate is a way for people to find an avenue in this world and in this country. It's a great source of opportunity. It's a great source of equity. And that was just really what led me into that space.
Wow. Um, Are you currently still in that space on the investing side? Have
Um,
you divested yourself? If so,
oh, no.
how many doors do you have? A few. How many do you have currently?
So I have 12 doors. I have a 6 unit, some single families, a duplex, and that's my investment portfolio now. It had been larger. I sold a few. Over this journey of life, you have to do some alchemy at different times to support different efforts. But I still, keep a foot in the market. And I think it really benefits my clients having that experience as either a landlord, as a person who's had to juggle through some very complex transactions and complex issues that come along with properties over the years. And I think that they also get to receive the practical points of it. I've renovated houses I've built from the ground and things like that. So I have a pretty wide lens when it comes to serving my clients.
Yes, you do. Wow. And they're fortunate to have you. So if you're, working with an investor today, how are you mentoring them, educating them, setting the correct expectations? What does that look like?
So, I mean, in this market, it's really compressed in terms of cash flow. So you really have to dial in on the investors' motivations and have to give them a clear expectation of what's going to happen in this space. Rents are flat, if only moving up slightly.
Yes.
It's very competitive. There's a lot of inventory that's been still being absorbed from the pandemic. The quality of those products are higher, and they want more customization. So your tenants are going to look for more amenities for the dollar. I think being clear-eyed in that sense, that I feel that people should be still looking for capital appreciation over the long term. And in terms of investing for flips, you have to be so careful because construction costs are up, labor costs are up, and so there's a lot of compression on profit. So you have to be skilled and wise in how you invest that money.
So true, so true. Now, I was just asked a question, so I'm going to turn it around to you.
Mhm.
The moderator asked, how would you, how did he say it? Basically, if you're working with buyers today, in
Mhm.
today's market, how do you educate them, set the correct expectations, from a buyer standpoint, and then we'll flip it, for sellers.
Yeah, for buyers, I really believe that getting the right property for their internal drives matters. Like it's more about what's going to satisfy their lifestyle, what's going to satisfy their future growth um, in the long term. I know that's kind of a nebulous answer, but I really do believe it starts with the person and that we should always put that relationship first. And so once we put that relationship first, um, through a consultation, it becomes a relationship where they should trust me to act in their best interest, trust me to use my experience and wisdom for their best interest. And then when it comes to, like I always tell my clients, we're always going to have a drama point. I never know what it's going to be. So when it comes, just me telling you this is going to help you get through it, and we'll get through it together. I also tell them that this ride could be as peaceful or as rocky as you want it to be, because some people like drama, and that's okay. I can pretend. But as far as from my side, it's always going to be stable. It's always going to be unemotional. I'm going to strip the emotion out of the information and deliver it to them. And in the end, they're going to get something that will appreciate over time.
Sage advice. Wow. Well, again, I think you've got this calming demeanor about you, that hopefully, puts them at ease. And I
Mhm.
think, the operative word also was trust, that we
Mhm.
understand it. I think it starts there. Um, I think that, you also mentioned that we all know it's not about price, because if it was, they would tell you I'm looking to 300,000, and you'd show them two homes and say buy this one, right?
Mhm.
It's about lifestyle. It's about their expectation, right? It's about, what is the next 3 to 5 to 7 years look like? And I think
Exactly.
if we don't understand that, then we truly can't service them properly, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Do you
Okay.
have what do you like to do? What do you like to be around? What kind of
Right.
environment? These type of things.
Indeed. Now flip it. If we're working with a seller, um,
Mhm.
what does that conversation look like today?
Today, it looks like, listen, these are the realistic expectations of the market. We're going to do the best to get you the most we can. But at the end of the day, we're going to be honest, and you're going to always trust that if I tell you something, it's on your best behalf. I'm not looking out for myself. I'm always looking out for them. And so, from a seller's perspective, their main thing is how can we get the most for our house in the least amount of time? That's the basic, the prime objective there. But I think even equally important, which they may not realize, is the experience and the consultative approach of giving information, of honesty, of trust, of the offers, of being able to make this experience from the seller side. It's even more stressful because we're asking them to actually determine the best offer. Will this actually happen? Will these people deliver? Those are parts of the contract that we try to dial in on as much as possible by verifying funds and things like that. But things always happen. And when those things happen, can I look them in the eye calmly and let them know this is the situation, this is how we're going to get through it together? Same thing with inspections, same thing with appraisals. It's about being honest. It's about being able to communicate the situation and the landscape and then navigate.
Powerful, powerful. Well, thank you for sharing. Um, Typically, we have new brand new agents on this call, and so I've started to make sure every call I have, I ask you.
Mhm.
If you were starting in this business today, what's the one, two, three pieces of advice, nuggets that you would give a brand new agent coming into this business? Because we have a classroom full of them, and so I
Mhm.
want them to hear wisdom coming from Philly. Bring it.
Yep. Yep. And I will get to that answer. It's going to be a little long-winded, but I wanted to plug a few things happening in Philly
Yes.
this summer. It's the 250th anniversary of our country being celebrated in its birthplace here in Philadelphia. So that's exciting. We're also getting the World Cup coming to Philly. And then we have a big Major League Baseball arrival here. So this is going to be a fantastic year for Philly. And go Birds, of course, go Eagles. So if I was a new agent, here's the things I think. Number one, you have to be patient in that first year, but be consistent. It doesn't, for most of us, it just doesn't happen overnight. We have to put a lot of work in. And then your beginning deals, at least for me, were very, very tough and very, very low dollar. That's just the way it works sometimes. But, through every experience, every transaction is a lesson. And it's like, whether, like sometimes I might be dealing on luxury property and sometimes I might be dealing on very inexpensive property. But at the end of the day, they're the same human behind the transaction, and never lose sight of the human behind the transaction or the relationship, because the dollars don't really matter as much as those relationships, because those relationships are going to perpetuate over time. So that's extremely important to keep in mind, especially in the beginning when you got bills to pay, and obligations to meet. But at the end of the day, you got to put that client first and their needs before ours. And it's not easy. It's also not easy, like some people, their pillar might be expired. There might be people that call for sale by owners. Whatever your particular niche is, go lean into that. I'm sphere of influence and referral. That's my niche. And then once I realize that's my niche, I'm pitching. I'll do social media videos. I'll do parties and events, and I'm part of boards and community organizations, because that's organic to me. So whatever's organic to you, lean into that. I would definitely say.
That is amazing advice. And what's crazy, so I just left a panel with, for those in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area, an Ebby Halliday agent who was their Rookie of the Year. And I told him I want him on to kind of share his, first year journey. And what I did here was there were 8 leases. He did 8 leases his first year, and that also kind of helped propel him. And so I personally had a mindset shift about 3 or 4 years ago, and maybe it was right around COVID or shortly thereafter, that leases are okay. I used to poo-poo them and think I didn't have time for it. And that's bull, because if it's truly about service, they need help. And that's what we're charged to do. And so now I still don't really like it. My attitude has changed. I make sure I give them the same high level of service. Destiny will shake her head because we've got a very challenging one now. But I do think at the end of the day, it's about relationships. And I know that's where your bread is buttered, and so is mine. So
Mhm.
uh, I will charge everyone if right now you're handling more leases than you'd care to, who cares? Take care of that client, right?
Yep.
That's what's most important. And that client will in turn take care of you. Let's not lose that lesson, right?
Absolutely, Ben.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll add to that is, a lot of younger agents do not want to do leases, or they have a bad impression of them. But our market, because we're in a seasonal market, we have a real winter and a real summer.
Mhm.
you have to look at the bottom line as the business owner of your business and say, how are we generating revenue in January and December? Well, we might have to do some leases in those months because those are going to generate revenue in 30 to 45 days. You got to do what you got to do to pay the bills.
100, 100. Well, again, you dropped a number of nuggets on us. What is let's talk about your your agent to agent referrals and your social media.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm going to chime in and ask you about these damn squirrels because I saw a post. And I'm like, I gotta ask him, man. So is that common in your area?
Yes.
The squirrels, and it's funny because it's common in our area, but not always getting in the house or in the attic, but it's a common issue around. So tell us about that, either that experience or that damn squirrel, because you had
Yep.
me engaged on your social
Yes.
media following this squirrel.
Yes. So one thing about social media is they don't all people don't always want to hear about real estate. They want to kind of connect with you. And the squirrel in the attic story, basically, we live in our house was built in 1895. So it's an old Victorian three-story house. And I'm sitting at home one day and I hear this and I'm like, what is that? So freaked me out, had to call a squirrel. Now squirrels, you just can't, it's not polite to just, you gotta like be kind with squirrels because that's like the rules. So, we had to set up like traps and all this stuff. And this squirrel just, I think, got trapped in there when my neighbor like sealed up their roof. And so eventually this squirrel ate its way through my ceiling and was in my kitchen. And I was scared to death. I had to get myself composed. And then we finally figured out that we had to turn all the lights off, block the accessible places, and open up the front door. And it finally ran out. So that's my squirrel story. I've had enough of squirrels this year.
I loved it. And I think, the point there is we don't know what's going to resonate with our audience because I follow your stuff, but the squirrel story just had me intrigued. I mean, I'm reading the whole thing. And so I think that if you weren't posting consistently about you and about real estate and about personal, and again, I think that's where it's a growth opportunity for me because I think I post, some decent real estate content,
Mhm.
but no one knows who Ben Baker is. And I know because I've hired a new company now to help me with that.
Mhm.
They're going to want me to post a little personal stuff. So stay tuned for it. I'm going to get better at it. Um, because I think it's critical, I think, today with our success. Now,
Mhm.
um, that being said, I also think you and I also appreciate the network that we have,
Absolutely.
the groups that we're part of, the referrals that you receive. So, how have you been purposeful about, you know, strengthening and continuing those relationships with, and not just our Keller Williams family from around the world, but others?
Yeah, well, I do lean into our Keller Williams family because it's such an extensive network, and there's great opportunities to build relationships both at the family reunion and the mega camp, where you start to see people over and over again. And I'm not the person that gets to remember and connect with everybody. That's not how I process. I rather lead with strong connections like I have with you and a few other agents from across the country who I know are top performers in their markets. And build real relationships, check-ins, like things like this. When I heard you had this podcast, I was like, man, give me an opportunity, let me get a shot. Because I've watched your work. I get your postcards. I've followed you. I know that you're somebody to look up to and respect in this business. So when I had an opportunity to connect, that's what I do. So it's like those type of things, and building really meaningful relationships. That's how you build referral networks, I believe.
Again, you've done a fantastic job of it, and again, I wanted you on not because you said, "Hey Ben, am I chopped liver or what?" Right? It's because I knew that you would bring the meat this week because you've got such varied experience, and I wanted those who were free to jump on today to hear and know that we've got an amazing referral partner in Philly, right?
Absolutely.
Because we've been fortunate to be able to have connections here. I know my buddy Richie has met someone or referred someone. I know Pop has been able to refer business. Steve probably has, and so that's also what I wanted this to be about was connection. And I just made the point here at this panel that it's interesting when the market is on fire. We tend to forget about each other and think that, oh, I don't need this, I don't need that. And one, it's bull. It's just bull. And what I've told folks is that, uh, especially when the market is challenging, now all of a sudden we're collaborating more than we ever have. And we should
Hmm.
not lose sight of that, because when this market really turns around in the next year or two, and now all of a sudden our hair is on fire, we can't forget about our brothers and sisters over at Real and EXP and Abby Halliday and Remax, right? Because we can still learn from those guys. We can collaborate with those guys because there's more than enough business for us all.
Hmm.
And we can't lose sight of that, right? We
Absolutely.
need those guys. Those guys need us. So again, don't lose sight of it. And I'm off my soapbox, but I think it's important because all of a sudden, folks won't return calls, when things pick up, and I'm like, man, that's fundamental. Right now, I think I'm attracting some business because I'm answering my phone or I'm returning a call within a timely manner. So that's
Absolutely.
real estate 101. So let's not forget about that.
Absolutely.
All right. We've got just a couple minutes. So, and I've probably asked you this in a roundabout way, but currently,
Mhm.
what is your number one? What's your number one lead source?
Sphere of influence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. I in Philadelphia, I know a lot of people, built a lot of relationships over the years in different capacities, and then it just becomes when it's time to buy a house, am I the first person you think of when it's that time?
Love that. Okay. So what's either a lead source or a growth opportunity for you that in 2026 you want to improve or get better at?
So it's all about client experience at the beginning and the end of the day. So whatever systems I can build around myself to improve that, and it's about in this time, like right now, I'm really focused on systems and AI and learning about that, being in that development stage of learning and making sure I'm not left behind by AI. But we have to double down on human connection. So the AI and all that is to support the human connection, not to overtake it, not to create artificial relationships. We should be. I'm doubling down on genuine relationships, on genuine contacts, supported systematically by what AI provides. And it's coming. And if you're not on board the AI train, you're going to be like a cave person. So we can't ignore what's happening.
We cannot. And I'm fortunate I've got a young lady, my right hand, she's more in tune than I am. But again, I think we're learning going to grow together in this
Hmm.
space. And again, it was said, and we know that AI is only going to replace us if we're using AI to replace us, right?
Hmm.
And if we're not bringing the human aspect to artificial, then yeah, we're going to be the cave person. We're going to be left in the dark. And I know you've got many years left in this business. I've only got a few, but I'm wanting to make sure that I'm still competing. I
Hmm.
think I still have something to bring, and I'm leveling up and I'm learning and I'm growing all day, every day, and I'm willing to embrace what's going on. And what's crazy is when I got in this business 37 years ago, we didn't have all the things we have now, computers and all that kind of stuff. And when we started incorporating computers and stuff into this business, Sandra Howard was an agent. She had already been in the business 20 years.
Hmm.
She decided to get out of the business because she didn't want to learn the new technology. And I thought, I've always remembered that. And I remembered her name because I'm like, I don't want to be Sandra Howard. right?
Mm,
If I've got to pivot a little bit, if I've got to learn and grow, now I'm doing it at a much slower pace than most of the young kids. And I know my buddy Steve Markell, who you might see on the screen, Steve and I, our offices are right next door. And Steve's been doing it, I think, about a year longer than me. So he's around 38 years. And both of us are slow, but we're embracing it. And I think that's the point.
that's the
So,
point.
yeah.
Well, what I always say is, we have digital everything. We have podcasts, we have Zooms, we have all this, but there's still AM radio, right? So what I mean by that is, you think something's going to be obsolete. There's still some AM radio listeners out there, so you don't give up what you already have, you just grow it.